How do I install a 64-bit Windows 7 on a MacBook Pro without Boot Camp? Is it possible to install Windows 7, 64-bit, on a Mac Pro without Boot Camp? I don't need macOS at all and just want to install Windows 7. Edit: yes, it seems possible, see answer, but I would strongly recommend to follow Dedham's advice on this matter.
If I were you, I won't bother installing Windows without Boot Camp, since it is painfully unnecessary if you do so. You'll be losing something like 1 hour and 10 GB of hard disk space if you install, restore, OS X and install Boot Camp, but you'll save lots of time since Boot Camp will do the EFI booting configurating, partitions creating and shrinking, providing Mac hardware drivers etc.
This is for Vista, but the same rules should apply to 7. This URL. I did it following the Vista instructions that Joseph posted above. It will work, but here are a few things I wish someone would have told me. The big gotcha: no XP mode. If you want to use XP mode with Windows 7, you have to enable your hardware virtualization in the BIOS. But Macs don't have BIOSes, so you'll have no way to do this after you install. Forum rumor has it that if you boot first to OS and then reboot into Windows 7 that OS will start it for you and then you can use XP mode. Of course, you need Boot Camp to be able to boot both of these. Maybe you could install OS to another HD or something. You can use Light instead, but I installed iTunes on that and it just crashed without running. Had similar experiences with Adobe on Parallels in OS. There's some general issues with booting Macs that most users probably know already, but I did not. Do the disk util thing the way the Vista instructions describe. When you reboot with your Windows 7 CD, it will do some initial install things and then reboot your computer. You have to hold down the Alt key when it's rebooting and then select the hard drive to boot from, otherwise you will be stuck with a white/grey screen. When you are done with the install, reboot and hold down Alt and then Control-click the Windows 7 drive to make it the default boot volume and you don't have to hold Alt down anymore on restart. As others have said, it's probably best to just use Boot Camp and set Windows as the default. Unless you're putting everything on one big RAID volume and booting straight from that, OS isn't really hurting anything except a few megs off your boot volume, but that's not typically a problem. I didn't install any drivers from the disk and didn't have any problems.
Not sure if you can simply install Windows 7 from scratch, i.e., pop the disk in and boot from it, as opposed to using the Boot Camp Assistant from macOS X, but you'll certainly want to use the macOS X disk afterwards to install the Boot Camp hardware drivers.
Windows 7 Pro, x64 disk boots fine on Mac Pro. Just delete all existing Mac partition, and create new Windows partitions, and reformat the new partitions. Windows 7 installs and boots as is. Then insert Snow Leopard disk and install Boot Camp drivers.